Good day, Filipinas. Hey, everybody, I am here. It's been a while since I shared my thoughts on Miss Universe, and I think it's the perfect time to dive into my impressions of the recently concluded Miss Universe 2024. I want to discuss whether Miss Universe is still the premier pageant among all others and share both my disappointments and joys from the event today. So let's start with the pre-events in Mexico. I previously mentioned in my vlog that I felt the organization overlooked the essence of cultural exploration and immersion for the candidates this year. They spent too much time confined to their hotel accommodations instead of engaging with local culture. This was a missed opportunity for both the candidates and the audience of Miss Universe. I also noticed that pageant media had very limited access to the contestants due to security concerns, and we understand that. While we understand the need for safety, it's also disappointing that these media outlets, which help promote the pageant and the candidates on social media, were restricted to the point where they couldn't even conduct interviews for the candidates. The lack of interviews made it harder for fans to connect with the candidates on a personal level. In fact, there wasn't even a media conference, which feels like a significant oversight for such a large scale event like Miss Universe. Then moving on to the gala night, while I loved the excitement surrounding it, the lighting and overall organization left much to be desired. There wasn't much accessible footage for fans and pageant enthusiasts. The videos were dim and not very well organized, making it difficult to truly appreciate the magic of the night. Let's go to the preliminary competition for the Miss Universe pageant this year. It was a mixed bag for me. We were drawn to the Miss Grand event, which set our expectations so high, considering the historical prestige of Miss Universe. Starting with the national costumes. I anticipated a vibrant display of colors and extravagant themes, but most of the costumes seemed familiar and typical for me this year. There were a few standout pieces from countries like New Zealand, the Philippines, Guinea, Samoa, and Ecuador. However, I was surprised by some Asian contenders like Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam who opted for simpler, yet though it was structured outfits instead of more eye-catching designs, but I expected so much more from them. Moving on to the staging. It was impressive in size, but not well suited for showcasing the contestants' runway skills. The lack of prior events meant we didn't get to see their full potential in movement or in passerella and their presence on stage. While I understand the constraints due to the number of participants, since we have 126 this year, I think the organization should have been more prepared for that aspect. One point that stood out to me was the camera work. The panning felt rushed, and the time allotted to each candidate felt unequal. It seemed like some contestants, like the Dominican Republic, for example, although there were many of them, received more attention and time to shine, which was frustrating for many others who had worked just as hard. This disparity in media coverage could alienate potential fans and supporters in the future. When it came to the evening gowns segment, it was disappointing also. Many girls had put in significant effort to prepare for this moment, but the time constraints hindered their ability to truly showcase their beautiful gowns, their grace, and their presence. With such a large number of candidates, it would have been better to allow groups of five to walk, at least to walk and turn, and truly embody the beauty of the gowns, rather than just standing still. On a positive note, I appreciated the hosting style and the energy of the commentators. They really brought the event to life. Overall, though there are several areas the organization needs to address to enhance and develop the experience for both the contestants and the viewers in the future's editions. Let's go to the finals night. The final night of Miss Universe 2024 didn't go as smoothly as many of us had hoped. Access to the coronation event, especially for online access, example YouTube, was quite difficult for the general public, which feels like a missed opportunity for the organization, especially since we invest so much time and attention to support the organization and the candidates. Asking fans to pay for access, after all, that felt a bit off for me. You know, they could have given us the opportunity to see a free streaming, clear and free streaming. Let's start with the hosts. Olivia Colpo and Mario Lopez didn't bring the fresh energy I ex- as I expected. Mario, while a seasoned television host, seemed to lack the vibrant connection that the pageant format demands. I can compare it with Steve Harvey as the main host for Miss Universe. He is still the best host for the pageant at this point. On the other hand, the commentary from Catriona Gray and Zuri Hall was refreshingly engaging for me. Their insights and remarks were something I could listen to and over again, right? So regarding the stage setup, it was the same as in the preliminaries. While it was adequate for the top 30 to showcase their passerella, it lacked that extra flair, that could make it memorable. The narrow camera angles didn't do much justice either, making it feel limited in scope. And in terms of the top 30 contestants, there were some surprises, like Miss Universe Macau and Serbia making the cut, but although they performed well in the Sims round, but I'm still surprised. However, I noticed some contestants were strong performers yet didn't exude the queenly aura we expect. For instance, the Philippines truly stood out with a unique and fluid walk during the swimsuit segment, while others like Mexico, Venezuela, and Peru, despite their skill, lacked innovative edge. Just for me. Well, the composition of the top 12 was quite shocking to me, seeing Nigeria and Canada advance while India and Ecuador didn't feel off, particularly since some of the lower energy contestants really could use more coaching. I was also surprised that the Continental Queens weren't announced during the top 30 reveal. That felt like that felt like a missed opportunity for the organization. When we moved on to the evening gown segment, I was taken aback by how the evening gown performances didn't weigh heavily in determining the top 5. Yes, for example, Nigeria's gown, for instance, didn't seem to complement her skin tone. It wasn't the best or one of one of the best because it's not even the worst gown in the top 12, but I think there were gowns or candidates who wore the best gowns than Nigeria. As compared to gowns worn by contestants like Chile, for example, or Russia, they could have advanced instead of Nigeria. If we truly stick to the gown as our main criterion, going to the top 5. Isn't a critique of Nigeria specifically. I want to make a disclaimer. It's about ensuring that the best representation for every contestant will proceed in the top 5. Alright, Denmark's winning the overall title was unexpected, especially as the Continental Queens were announced after. It was confusing, however, how the winners were determined since the continental titles were awarded to contestants not in the top five. Okay, the decision to have Nigeria as the first runner-up, while also winning a continental title, raised eyebrows. Hmm. Raised eyebrows, especially to Thailand, where Opal have placed third runner-up and yet didn't have the continental title. Okay, it almost seemed like a strategic move by the organization to, I think, strengthen the ties in that market. Specifically in Nigeria. Overall, the pageant felt unprepared for me and lacked the usual prestige we've come to expect from such events, of course, from Miss Universe. It left a bittersweet taste, not just because the Philippines didn't make it to the top 12, but because the overall presentation felt lackluster. If things don't improve next year, Miss Grand just take the spotlight as the premier pageant for me. Yeah. Although it was disappointing for many of us all around the world, as pageant fans, I'm still proud of how Filipinos continue to support our queens, showing unwavering dedication regardless of the outcomes. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts on the Q&A segment in my next video, so stay tuned. Minutes.